not me filming a July wrap-up video in a fall outfit. Hello book friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing so lovely. I am so happy you're here. Today is going to be my July wrap-up video. So July was interesting for me. I read some good books, I read not so much great books. I had my first DNF in like over a year this month, so very interesting. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys subscribe if you want to see more content from me. I make weekly reading vlogs that are out every single Monday, so make sure you come back for that. So I read 9 books in July, and that is including the one I DNF'd, which I'll talk about first. How I do my wrap-ups is I start with my book that I rated the lowest, and then I go all the way up to my highest rated book. So the first book I read is the one I DNF'd. I got to the 90% mark in Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, and I just could not read it any longer. Reading from Frances was just very aggravating, very annoying. I just literally was going to gorge my eyes out if I had to read any more from her, and that says a lot because I really enjoyed Sally Rooney's other 2 books. I just don't know what it is about this book that I just did not like. And I don't know if it was because I'm just now realizing that Sally Rooney's characters are pretty much all the same, or they have like similar characteristics. I can't be alone in that. Does anyone else agree on that? I hope so. Basically, we follow Frances, who lives in Dublin. She is pursuing a writing career, and she falls in love with a married man, and they have they have a relationship, but his wife is known, and she finds it hard. Frances finds it hard that like he's regaining a relationship with his wife, and it's just really weird. And I'm just like, this is not the vibe. So because I did read up to 90%, I did rate this because I read over 50%. Generally with my DNFs, if I read under 50%, I do not rate them. If I read over, I do rate them. So this is a 1 star because what else would I rate this? A 5 star? No. Next book is Fake It Till You Bake It. So we follow Jada, who went on a reality television show, kind of like The Bachelorette, and she got to the point where the Bachelor proposed to her and she turned him down, saying she has someone at home. She comes home, her parents are cutting her off, so she goes to her grandma to see what her grandma would do because her grandma controls the trust, and Jada doesn't get the trust until she turns 26, I believe. So grandma makes a deal with her that if you work and hold down a job for 6 months, I will give you your trust. So lo and behold, we meet Donovan, who owns a cupcake company, or he owns a cupcake shop, but he also plays for the Knights, which is a team that Jada's grandma owns. And he comes into Jada grandma's office and kind of for advice on what to do because his cupcake shop isn't really working. And then she kind of throws him an idea of, hey, my granddaughter's looking for, you know, a job, want to hire her. So he hires her, and they kind of have to start fake dating because Jada spills the beans that this is the guy that she had back home and why she couldn't marry the guy on the reality television show. So this was a 1 star for me. I didn't really like it. It felt like a chore to read this book. I typically am not one for romances. I mean, I guess I am. I'm just really picky with my romances. I don't like them to be very plot convenient. I don't like them to be cringy. I just don't like... There's just a lot of things in romances that I just don't like. So for me, a romance has to be like absolutely stellar for me to like really enjoy it. So this one just was very cringy to me. I did not like it. So I gave it a 1 star. Next book is The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. Megan Miranda is typically an author I really enjoy. However, this book just, I don't know what it was about this book. It just wasn't it for me. We follow Leah, who lost her job at the Boston paper, and due to something, she keeps alluding to it. We don't really know what happened, but it's like this major thing. She lost her job. and she meets up with her former college roommate 8 years later, Emmy. They both decide to pick up and relocate to a very small town, and soon after they relocate, a woman who looks exactly like Leah turns up dead, and then not too long after that, Emmy goes missing, and the police cannot find any trace of her. It's like she's vanished. It's like, does Emmy really exist? And that, to me, sounded so good. I was so pumped for it. And it was just very underwhelming. Like, the ending wasn't really well explained, how Leah came to find out what really happened to Emmy and how she came across, like, and how she came up with this conclusion. It was just like, what? So it just wasn't it for me. I gave this book a 2-star. Next book I want to talk about is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. Followed Macy, who is a pediatric resident. She works very hard. She works long hours. She's engaged to this older, financially stable man. She thinks her life is great until she runs into Elliot, who was her first, literally her first everything, her first friend, her first love, her first kiss, you know, on and on, her first everything. So basically she's left with the decision, does she go back to Elliot or does she keep on with this life that she's so comfortable with? So I rated this book a 2.5, and the reason being is because I feel like this book would have really benefited from being an older voice. So the flashbacks they had were when they were 16, like, I think they started when they were like, what, 13, something like that. And they were dealing with issues that are normally dealt with when you're in your 20s. And I know everybody has different issues in like different stages of life, but to me I felt like the issues they were dealing with were like what you deal with in your 20s. And I feel like this book really would have benefited if, you know, it started with the flashbacks. You know, okay, maybe show them like when they first met, when, you know, when they were young and Macy's dad bought the house next door to Elliot in this, you know, town, and like show that and show them forming a friendship, and then maybe like kind of gradually flash back until they're like their early 20s. And then, you know, I wish the future chapters that we got were like them in their mid 30s. I feel like it would have made more sense. And maybe that's just me because I am 28 and I really don't care about reading about 16-year-olds. That's not my demographic. I really can't relate to 16, 17-year-olds anymore. Like, it's been a long time since I was that age, so I really just, my head is not in that. So maybe that's just me being older and not, you know, connecting well, and that's probably why I rated this book so low, but I get it a 2.5. The next book is Fireborn, which is the first book in the Aurelian Cycle trilogy. This book I was pleasantly surprised with. So we follow Annie and Lee, who grew up together in an orphanage. Annie comes from, like, you know, the slums. She doesn't really have money. Like, her family was very poor, very lowborn. Meanwhile, Lee was born in a very high privileged family, and then the war happens and they both end up in the orphanage. And they get into this competition to be the first rider, which is a dragon rider, who basically, as to me, I look at it as like the governor who like does policies, looks over the town, stuff like that. That's how I kind of look at the first rider. And they get in this competition, but Lisa Lee is faced with, does he save the family that he already knows, or does he save his real family? This book was great. It had dragons in it, like companion dragons. Like, the humans' emotions were connected to the dragons, which I thought was very cool. There was friendship, there was love, there was war, there was all the things you want in a fantasy was in this. However, it did take me a while to get through this book. I rated it a 2.75 just because it was slow at certain parts and felt, I just wish it was a little more fast-paced, but maybe that's just me because I haven't read a fantasy in a while. So, the next book I want to talk about is actually the second book in the Aurelian Cycle trilogy, and this is Blindfold. I'm not going to say the synopsis about this book because I don't want to give anything away. I did enjoy this book a whole lot more than the first book in the series. I thought the characters were great. I thought the writing has grown. The ending of this was just like, I need the third book now. I did actually dog ear so many pages in this book that I didn't really realize that I dog eared. So, give this book a 3-star. Next book I want to talk about is actually not a book, it's a manga, and that is Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1. I really liked this. I have never read a manga before, so I didn't really know what to expect going into manga. I usually read graphic novels. And I really like this a lot. This was so fun to read. It was just great. It was entertaining. I cannot wait to carry on with the rest of the series. So basically we follow Ken, who ends up going on a date with this beautiful girl who ends up being a ghoul, which are... they basically crave human flesh. They eat humans and they can disguise themselves as humans, but in reality they're like monsters. So he goes on this date with this girl and she's a ghoul and she dies and he gets really injured and he ends up being in the hospital, and they end up doing an organ transplant from the girl to him, and then so he ends up half ghoul, and now he has to kind of navigate his life being half ghoul, half human, kind of struggling of where he fits in, because he's like, I don't really fit in anywhere. And so yeah, I really like this. I cannot wait to carry on with the rest of the series. I rated this a 4-star. Next book is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now this is my second time reading this book, and there were some things that like I remembered I forgot. And I mean, what can I say other than I like absolutely love this book. I remember the first time I read this, I did give it a 5-star. But this time around I did do a 4-star just because my reading taste has changed, my ratings have changed. I think I'm a lot more, I don't want to say like strict on my ratings, but I like know what a 5-star is and I know what isn't, in my opinion. So give it a 4-star. I mean, the annotations can speak for themselves. So if you guys don't know what this book is about, we follow 19-year-old Feyre, whose family lost basically all their fortune, and they now live in a cottage in the woods, and Feyre is basically the only one who is holding the family together. She hunts. She's the only one who knows how to get food. Without her, they would basically like not survive. And one wintry day, she sees this wolf, and she shoots it and kills it, and she sells the hide. That night, this monster thing comes, ends up being a High Lord named Tamlin, who says you need to pay a life for a life, so you either come with me and live out the rest of your life in Prythian, or I can kill you right outside the cabin. So she chooses to go with him, and lo and behold, Akatar. So gave it a 4-star, really enjoyed it, cannot wait to carry on with the rest of the series. And oh, I do have a vlog on this book on my channel, so if you're just now coming across my channel and you haven't watched any of my other videos, I have a full vlog dedicated to this book, so go check it out. Last book I read was Youre Invited by Amanda Giatisa. I did give this book a 4-star. The more I think about it, the more higher I want to rate this book. I absolutely love this book. This is a thriller. I don't really want to tell you a lot about this thriller because I don't want to give anything away, but I'll read the tagline. What could be worse than your ex-boyfriend marrying your childhood best friend, getting accused of her murder? So basically, we follow Amma, who has this best friend she hasn't spoken to in 5 years. We could call them ex-best friends. Her name is Kavi, and she finds out that Kavi is marrying her ex-boyfriend. And she's invited to the wedding, and she hasn't spoken to Kavi in 5 years, and she's like, what the heck? So she just goes to see. And there are so many little like twists and turns that are in this book. It's great. The way I pitch this book is it's Crazy Rich Asians, but if a murder happened. And that is like the perfect, like, that's all you need to know going to this book. That's all I needed to know going to this book, and I really enjoyed this, and I gave it a 4-star. So yeah, you guys, those are all the books I read this month in July. What did you guys read? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. I would love to have you here, and make sure to follow me on all my social medias. They're always linked down below, and I will catch you guys in my next video.